fab, build. I get it. I want to build. But for the last week, what?
Nothing.
For the last week, it hasn't been about fab work so much because we did a bolt together car for eBay. How about that? We're in with eBay.
There's a lot of weird ones happening right now. Weird number one is Dad's introing this video because this is on his channel.
It's mine. I can intro my own video. But here's the cool part. It's not just eBay.
This is eBay is doing a car in partnership with McLaren for F1 returning to Austin. So McLaren won in Miami, and then eBay decided their partnership with both of them, and they're building the ultimate trophy car. Now, who wins that car? I have no idea.
We don't know. We're sworn to secrecy right now, and it really kind of hurts because we want to post pictures and stuff. So we got a whole week here where we're radio silence.
Radio silence halfway because we don't actually know all the details of this project. We were just told, here's the car, here's the date that it has to be done, here's the parts that need to go on it.
And do you approve of these parts? And we're like, maybe?
Haven't seen the car.
We've never worked on
Don't actually
one of
know.
these cars before. Do they know what this car is yet?
No, they do not. Well, if you watched my video, yes, you do. I had part one, but this is a 73 Plymouth Barracuda.
Yeah, and even though I did grow up around these things, I haven't been around one in a long time. So, and I can't say that I've ever really worked on one. So when they ask, will these wheels and tires fit? Well,
looks good.
That's the whole point of the
I don't
cover.
know. I
It's
don't
like,
know. I don't know.
Wait, F1, F2, F3? I don't know. I mean, we don't do F racing.
We don't.
We F race that thing over there.
That's true.
Sometimes it's a F'er.
That's the 55.
But he's really a good car right now.
Me too. He's happy
We're
right
really
now.
happy with the 55.
He's happy right now.
Hey, there you go. F55F. FF1.
That's a
FF55.
F2.
Yeah, that's a F2. This is F1. Anyway, so what we spent the week on was updating this 1973 Barracuda
Yes.
with...
So we have QA1 front suspension, and I hate to say this because it sounds lame. Level 1. Level 1.
Is that what they said?
Yeah.
Stage 1?
Stage 1? Level 1?
I don't know.
It's a
I never
stage
heard
or a
this.
level. Anyways, we were going to get level 2, but they were out of stock. Don't
What was
ask me.
level 2? I don't know anything about this.
Yeah, it was out of stock.
I bet it had a sway bar.
I don't know.
Anyway, it's really nice stuff regardless. We took, shine the light over here. Excuse the shop because it's a disaster. I've been working wide open throttle, but this garbage came out.
Yes.
And that weighs about what an F1 car probably is.
Probably does.
And we put a nice tubular
K-member.
K-member with tubular control arms and rack and pinion, power rack and
Power,
pinion,
yep.
Willwood brakes on the front.
Yep.
It's so nice. They just make everything work. QA1 has it together. Their instructions are like just spot on.
They did do really good. And in the rear, we did a 4-link conversion, like a triangulated 4-link conversion from leaf spring. Also really simple to add in. So all that looks really good. It's got disc brakes in the front and rear now. And underneath the car is actually it's a nice car now. It's actually a really...
The car was
nice.
really nice to start with. It's rust free. This thing is amazingly rust free. Underneath it's got the original undercoating.
Yep.
And it's friggin' perfect, except it had that antiquated leaf spring and all that stuff. Now it's got coilovers all around, double adjustable.
Funny enough, it was actually all just freshly redone. It still had the stickers on it. So somebody had just redone it, and we just undone it and redid it. So
that's all right.
But anyways, so all of that is done. I think the car is sitting exceptionally well now. Big fan of it. It looks really nice. At this point, though, I am leaving you.
Good. Don't let the door hit you or the good Lord split you.
Well, that's fair enough. No, we are going to Speedway Motors this weekend to do the Iski Cars and Coffee. That will have already happened by the time you guys see this video because this is under embargo until the F1 race in Austin, which is the weekend of October 17th, 18th, 19th. So the plan from here is Dad is going to take this away on his channel now, which you guys are watching, and finish it out with some really crazy projects like installing a windshield.
Really hard.
Installing a side glass.
Fab.
No, he almost didn't want to do this video because it wasn't fab. I am telling him it's a great idea, so be nice. Fab will come.
I have lots of fab scheduled and some really cool projects, but this is more bolt together, but it's cool.
It's so cool. Yeah.
Think about it, you're watching us dive into a world that we know nothing about.
Zero.
I mean, I don't even know what F1 means. I think that means Formula
It
One.
does.
They used to call it Formula One,
It's still a Formula One.
but now it's referred to as F1.
That is true.
So
Look at-
that's kind of like
see, he knows
California
something.
used to be California.
Now it's Cali.
Now it's Cali. It's like, so
It's his pet
F1
peeve.
maybe not be, I don't know. Anyway,
Whatever.
we don't know what it is, but we're about to find out, and you can come along for the,
Yeah. So if you missed the first part of this, go over to my channel, linked below. You can see the first part, and then Dad will be finishing it out over here on his channel. I am heading to Speedway with you guys, and then heading to HRG to film, so he'll be finishing it up, and you guys will see the unveiling of this, because it's going to get wrapped. It's going to get a brand new look in McLaren orange, so you guys can
oh,
see.
I was going to say we shouldn't tell them what color. They could comment and say
Meg.
what color it should be.
Edit that out. No, they'll see by the end of it.
Yeah, but not this first thing.
All right, Meg, edit the color out. Beep it out.
Yeah, so you guys tell us what color you think this car should be.
Or wait around 30 minutes and you're going to see it.
Yeah, but you can still tell us what color it should have been.
That's fair. Comment right now.
Because I have a feeling that you probably won't approve of the color.
Fair enough. But it's going to look good either way. So you get to finish this off, and then I'll be meeting back up with you in Austin so we can go to F1, work in the paddock. I got to quit saying that. I don't know if we're working in a paddock or a pit or a parking lot, but we'll be working in the parking lot, because something you don't know is that there is going to be parts on this that will be fan voted: wheels, seats, and steering wheel. Fans get to vote on it, and we have to put it on in the pits. Okay.
Do they have pits?
Or paddocks.
We're not allowed in those pits. Those pits are like out there by the racetrack, more so than our pits are.
Or parking lots.
We'll
We'll
probably
be working.
be in the parking lot.
We
We
may
may
be-
be at McDonald's.
We could be in the dirt. I don't know. But stuff is going to happen to this car, and you guys will see it.
You guys can join and see what kind of thing they throw us into, because they wanted us to wear a.
Oh, man. You guys should have seen this. They wanted us in that jumpsuit. And I was like, I don't wear a jumpsuit.
Dude, there
And
ain't enough money in this for
he
me
especially doesn't wear a jumpsuit.
to be. This ain't the. This isn't the 80s anymore. Can you imagine me in a jumpsuit?
I'm going to call him and tell him we agreed.
Yeah, and go ahead. Nick's gonna be in a jumpsuit, and I'm gonna be here in my Levi's or jeans and my shorts.
All right. Well,
I'm not wearing a jumpsuit. I don't care what
luck.
colors it says.
finish it out.
Yeah, while you go off and party.
I'm going to work. I'm going to bolt on some more stuff. on
Okay,
my
to be
garage.
fair, she worked with me all week, and we attacked this thing.
We did.
I mean, front to back. It was fun. I had a really good week. But she's jerking the rear end stuff out of it, and I'm jerking the front end stuff out, and we kicked its butt.
We got a lot done.
But it was a lot of work. I'll tell you. I'm really tired. I'm ready. It's 9:30. I'm ready to go home. And I'm
I gotta
not
go
done.
clean my windows and paint my ceiling. Goodbye.
Adios. And don't forget to be really pretty and bitchin' and go fast and
Stay a little grumpy.
stay a little grumpy. We'll see you soon. So it was 9:30 just a few minutes ago when you saw us talking about this new project. It's now 10:01, so it was only a half hour. But the doors are off, trunk's off. We should have shown you us loading these things. It's like, okay, I'll grab it. No, I wasn't grabbing it. I remember 73 was the year they started putting crash bars in the door, and those doors, Nick came over and helped load them in the back of the truck. I said, I bet they're 80 pounds a piece. He said he thought they were more than that. I used to work in weights and measures though, so they were 80 to 100 pounds a piece. These things are stupid heavy. You don't build a race car out of one of these without gutting it. But I pulled all the bolts out of the hinges, and look what rained down out of this side. So somebody had plenty of shims. It's not like the car is bad, but instead of moving this hinge back, I think I see shims in there too. It's kind of hard to get to, so they just shimmed that lower hinge. So I got to figure that out when they come back. Doors are off, trunks off. Debbie and Alex are taking those to Fort Smith tomorrow to have they're gonna wrap them over the weekend while we're gone to the museum, Nebraska. And when I get back, I've got 3 days, I think, that I can finish up the alignment and the stuff that I've got to do on it. Carpet, seats, steering wheel, lights, and then we got to deliver it up to Fort Smith. He'll be done with the doors and the trunk. Hopefully he puts them back on instead of me. Fingers crossed. Hope he doesn't give me back a kit car, which may be because I don't have time to do it. But anyway, he'll wrap the body while we're doing other stuff. And then when it comes back, we got to load it on a truck and send it to Austin to the race. So it looked really good a few minutes ago. Now it looks like a shell, but it'll look good when we get done with it. So we'll show you the rest coming up. So here's what I was talking about. I already put the Wilwood brakes on, and I've already kind of made a mess here because I thought I knew what I was doing the other day. But you can see this outer retainer has a seal in it. And I noticed the other day that there was a seal up inside of this housing. And I'm not used to an 8 3/4, but there's a seal in there. On a 9-inch Ford, if you have a seal in here, you have a unsealed bearing out here, a tapered bearing. Or no, a ball bearing. If you have a seal, you have a ball bearing, because the ball bearing is sealed. Let me find the ball bearing that we're going to put in. They come greased from the factory, so they're sealed. They never get grease. But on a tapered bearing, it has to get its grease from inside the tube, sloshing around from the ring and pinion. So this is all, when I was first doing it, I'm just thinking I'm just going to bolt this together. I didn't realize somebody had done something wrong. So I added some grease here just to be on the safe side. So I've got to clean that off, and I'm going to cut these bearings off. They're probably brand new, but I'm going to torch them off. I don't need to try to save them. I'll never ever use them again. I'm going to cut them off with a torch, and I'm going to press the new sealed ball bearings on. But here's what I'm going to try to show you. You can see the seal that's installed, but more importantly, you can see that there's not really a step for this bearing will slide back and forth there and here. There's a machined area, but that's just to make it smaller for the seal. That's not a step to bottom the bearing out on. So with the tapered bearing, I'll show you down here on the axle. That's cleaned out. I don't have to do any more because that seal will now seal the grease from the third member. It'll stop right here. The bearing has its own supply of grease that's packed into it from the factory. It has a nice big axle. Unfortunately, it's got tiny little splines. Probably 28, I'm not sure. So when that bearing's in and it doesn't have a place to stop, you get this, because that's a tapered. Unfortunately, when it goes out like that, it also gets this vertical slop. When it's pushed back in, it's tight, and the seal is out here. So I'm not going to use any of this, the retainer, the bearing, or the outer retainer. We've got our own stuff. So I'm going to go back here and torch this off, which I just don't have the stuff to pull it in a press. I don't even know exactly how you do that when there's not room to get a clamp in there. And I don't care about the bearing or the retainer or anything. Let's go back here and we'll cut that off. I'm going to get the bearing that we're going to put on it and a mic or a caliper and compare and make sure that everything's right, because I don't know the differences in 8 3/4. There may be 5 different ones. There may not be any difference. I just don't know. But I'm going to test fit this. This bearing has a O-ring on it. And actually take that off. So now that bearing, just to make sure it slides right in. The new backing plate has a notch here that will clamp that snap ring that's on this bearing. Now that's going to hold it to keep it from going in and out. That's pretty nice. Let's just double check the axle diameter, just because I don't know. 1.562 is what I measure, which I'm not worried about it down to the thousandths. I'm just worried about it. You know, they may have 2 or 3 different axles, but 1.565. So this is going to press on there perfect. The snap ring works perfect. The outer diameter works perfect. So I'd say we're safe. That's one of the things that I was a little concerned with while we were gone this week. We went up to Lincoln, Nebraska to the Speedway Museum of American Speed to play with the Isky Roadster and go to Cars and Coffee, which was a lot of fun. But the bearings were overnighted and we got them Friday before we left. So I was concerned, what if we get back, they don't fit the axle or they don't fit the housing? But I just confirmed that they do, so we're good. I'm gonna get a torch over here, if I can find it. Everything's in a, my stuff all moves pretty much. So it may be anywhere in the shop. Let me get some gloves. Okay, let's start by cutting this ring off. This is the ring that presses on, retaining ring. You gotta be a little careful to not cut the axle, but if you just cut real close to the axle, it'll usually expand enough that it'll come off. And I'm pretty good with a torch, or used to be. But I have nicked the axle a few times. It's not that big a deal. I'll go ahead and cut both sides. I can probably take a hammer and screwdriver or a chisel and move it off of there. No, the axle's not getting that hot. It's not going to be a heat treat issue. It doesn't get that hot. Okay, it's loose. Let me find a hammer. Probably cooled down and slipped back, shrunk back to size, but no, you can see it's just knocking off now. I never even cut into the axle. So that'll be out of the way when we take it off, take the axle out. So I'm gonna, and I don't care about this retaining plate. If I did, it'd be a little different situation here, but I don't need that retainer. Debbie's dancing over there because she's wearing silly flip-flops, which I would never wear. But a lot of our car people seem to think flip-flops are cool. You don't want to do what I'm doing in them. In fact, you don't want to do what I'm doing, period. This is just nasty. Okay. So there's the outer race. Now for the, I'm not going to use a trash can. I could, but I don't want to melt my trash can. So it's going to make a mess in the floor, and I'm just going to clean it up when I'm done. So I'm going to cut this cage in a couple places. Now what I'm going to try to do so that it didn't fall apart. Try to make all those little rollers go down in the trash can. Good. They're warm, but they're not so hot that they'll melt the trash can. Now, we've got the inner tapered race, and we got a little sleeve, looks like. No, I think that's made onto the axle. So we're going to do the same thing with this inner race that we did with this retaining ring. We're going to notch it and warm it up, get it to slide off. I've got it cut on one side. See if we can drive it off with this pry bar. Okay, cake. Now, this can come off. only thing I'm going to save is that retaining plate because it's still brand new. I'll put it over here on the floor. That looks like a billet piece too. That's not a stamped steel piece. That's actually nice. I'm going to clean this axle up. I'm going to air cool it. And then I'm going to clean it up with some cleaning fluid. And I'll come back to you when we start pressing bearings on. Is my mic moving it up and down? Okay. All right, this better illustrates what I'm talking about. So this bearing, might get over here in the light, has got a snap ring. It's like a circlip snap ring, so it's completely, never has a gap in it. Anyway, I took the O-ring off. Now you can see this is going to go in here with an O-ring, and then this groove and this backing plate will hold that in when it's all put together, and our retaining ring will go in like this. All that will be held together, and that bearing can't move in and out because it's machine made and set up for that. So that's a ball bearing versus that tapered bearing that we had. That bearing is so tight in there I can't even spin it. I noticed that earlier, but when it's all pressed together, it'll work. So we're going to go back there and press this on the axle by itself. The seal will seal against the larger diameter of the axle. Now I'm going to press the retaining ring on. That goes like that. While I was at it, while you guys were away having a break or Coke or whatever you were doing, I bead blast or glass beaded the axle just to get it cleaned up. I'll paint it when we get this done. I'll go over there and press this down. I'll put it in the press with 2 plates right here. And I know other people have better stuff, but I honestly don't press a lot of bearings on axles. Most of my axles come with bearings on them or they're full floaters, and it doesn't require that. Let's see what I can come up with. Now I've got to search for them. I don't know here. We've got a couple plates. To go on the press. Looks like I'm probably going to have to lower the press 1 notch. When I first started building my own rear end housings, before I had a big press brake, which I don't have anymore, I used this with a little homemade press brake. I've still got it around here somewhere, but I'd press bells. I'll show you what I'm talking about. I built hundreds of rear end housings years and years and years ago. But I would press. I went home to dinner one day, decided I'm going to come back and build a rear end housing. So I actually have a little press brake attachment that I did the first ones on. Then I got a big press brake. But I have patterns for these bells, I call them. And for the front plate. But in the process of doing that, I kind of wore the holes out. That's why you see the black here. It put so much pressure, it elongated those holes. So what I'm doing here, and get set up. Like this right here. Let's put some kind of a adapter on here. And let's play over because they have been used a lot and they're actually bowed or bellied down. I've got air here. Let's get it run down with air. Bearing race, we're on the center of the axle. This is going to press onto here. And that seal is going to ride against that larger diameter. You can see where it was already doing that on the other bearing. if I did this backwards, I'd be in trouble. That snap ring has to be out. Okay, that's done. Now let's do that one more time with this retaining ring. Everything lined up. The retaining ring just gives it a double press fit. So if for some reason, say the race and the bearing split or something happened, the retaining ring would be the second press fit. Holds this bearing on. I know you're all smarter than that. But as long as I'm right here pressing, I might as well talk about it. It looks like it's bottomed out. Okay, now that bearing spins. It's tight, but it's probably the grease seals. Those are just brand new bearings, and I think the seals are that tight. So let's go back over here. I'm going to spray a little paint on this axle just to keep it from rusting inside of the brakes and make it look better. Then we'll come back and we'll install it. All right, so now that the paint's dried, the bearing's on, no snap ring, no O-ring. We put the little Willwood backing plate on, and the next thing goes is the snap ring. The backing plate holds this in, so the snap ring has to be on the inside of the backing plate. That's screwed on. Put the O-ring on. Now, see the backing plate when I put it on there, see how that fits nice and flush right there? That's pretty nice. That light, I think, is dying, so that's not doing any good. All right, so this is what will hold it into the housing now. And no, it doesn't get a gasket. It comes with gaskets, but you don't use them. I'm going to get a rubber hammer so I don't beat my hand up. It's hard without a light. Oh, here. This would make sense why. There's 5 bolts on a Dodge. Ford has 4. Chevrolet has 4. So I had that upside down. Okay, so the snap ring is up against the housing. The backing plate will hold that in. Let me get a flashlight. Make sure that looks proper. Yep, snap ring's all the way against. It almost looks like something's holding it out. No, it's a snap ring. It must need to go in just a little bit more. Okay, that's not wanting to go in, so I need to figure out what's holding that. I'm gonna knock that back out. I think I know, and I don't like it. So I've been into this before where this retaining ring is too big and it bottoms out in the seal in there. Let me show you. See where that seal's at? If this is sticking out further, it will bottom out on that. So your option is to drive the seal in further or machine the retaining ring down. Let me get a caliper and see if that's the case. If I were to just not notice that and assemble it, and if this is really the case, then that retaining ring would push against that seal so hard it would all clamp up. It'd be hard to spin, but I guarantee you a lot of people don't notice that sort of thing because I've taken them apart before where that is the case. So that's 1.7 inches in. Let's just see if that's our interference here. I'm going to raise this up. I don't think it is. No, that's probably 1.9 inches. So I just need to figure out what we were hitting. So that's good to know. Let's see. Why is that hitting? Or why is it not going in is the question. This backing plate has been on there, so I know it works. Let's go back together, at least we know now. What I gotta do is it's so dark. I'm gonna get another light. That one died. Might be able to just pull it up with the bolts, but I don't like forcing stuff. I would rather know why it's not going.
I tried to make it Sunday, but I got so damn depressed that I set my sights on Monday and I got myself undressed. I ain't ready for the altar, but I do agree there's times when a woman sure can be a friend of mine. But I keep on thinking about you, sister golden hair surprise, and I just can't live without you. Can't you see it in my eyes? I've been one poor correspondent, and I've been two.
Okay.
I got a couple regular half-inch nuts here. I want to suck the rotor up to the axle like it should be, with the wheel on it and the proper bolts. Make sure that it still spins, it's not dragging, it sounds perfect. So now I'm going to bolt the caliper on. The reason I'm doing it that way is because I want to make sure that the spacing is proper. It's going to take a 9/16 inch for that. I've got these calipers in here with the hard lines that were on the rear end already. It just worked out so well I didn't even change them. There's no need to put them in as flexible lines because the caliper doesn't move. Just the pistons do. So to set the space from outside to inside on these calipers, you have little thin washers that you put between the caliper and the bracket. But it usually works out perfect. I put more of those washers in my bolt bins than I do on the cards. That actually needs just a little bit. That's one of the rare times. So let me see how, if it's actually tight. It'd probably be okay, but look right here. So these pistons are all the way in. This pad's all the way in. It's very tight to the rotor. This side over here, not so much. So if I take these bolts back out of the caliper, we're gonna scoot the caliper in just a little bit. Let me grab a few of those washers, because I've already put them in the bolt bin. And it seemed to work out okay before, but now I'm going to put, let's see, I probably only need one washer per bolt. You can stack as many in there as you need. I just need a little bit of clearance. Two, I might do two. You kind of want to get it right in the center, but it's not the end of the world if it's not in the center. a little bit harder with that hard line on the caliper than it is with a flexible line. But once you get it figured out, it's no big deal. So we'll slide this in. This is a one-time deal. You don't do this every time you take it off. You just put them back in the same place as the pads where the pistons move in toward the rotor. Everything wears evenly. You just get the spacing set one time. Okay, now you can see this pad is loose, this pad's loose. So that's perfect. Now, when you spin the axle, there's nothing dragging on the rotor. It's perfect. So all I got left here, besides putting the wheel on, is putting this emergency brake cable or parking brake cable. I don't think they call them emergency brakes anymore. But I think of it as an emergency brake. Set this emergency brake cable and put the wheel back on, and this side's done. We'll move on to something else. Let's open this windshield, make sure that it's the right one for the car, because I don't trust anybody or anything. Just had a brake bleeding issue. So we had to emergency overnight a new master cylinder and proportioning valve. And on top of that, we went to start the car, which has been running since we had it here, on and off. We haven't run it a lot. Wouldn't start. We had 15 minutes to overnight stuff. I ran upstairs and got a distributor, an MSD for it, because it's got MSD 6 AL, I think, and MSD Pro Billet type distributor, which maybe it's not called Pro Billet because it's actually Pro Plastic, which I've never seen before. But it's just a standard MSD distributor. Finally, I narrowed it down to the pickup, and the distributor decided to not work anymore. Well, after telling Alex about it, she's in California, she said, I guess that's why it was dying on Nick. Nick received the car the other day while we were gone, and evidently while he was trying to move it in the shop, it kept dying. So the distributor, the pickup, I ohmed it out compared to the Chevrolet one I have, and it's definitely got an issue. So we had to overnight a new distributor for it and a master cylinder proportioning valve combination. We changed from disc drum to disc, so it needed that anyway. But we had one the other day, a new one shipped. It's just a standard Willwood, which would work on almost anything out there, except Dodge has their own special way of putting 4 bolts in a master cylinder. So I was hoping, fingers crossed, that the stock one would work. I don't like it. It's got the small reservoir, big reservoir, so we're going to change it out, but we had to get this special $400 and something master cylinder because Dodge has their own bolt pattern. We'll send the 2-bolt one back, and hopefully this 4-bolt one works, even though it's for manual brakes. This is power brakes. I'm hoping I can take the push rod out of it and make it fit. So we're getting down here to the 9th or 10th hour probably to get this thing finished, and since we can't bleed the brakes, we can't start the car till after the parts get here tomorrow. I'm going to see if I can put the windshield in tonight. Before I take it out, we're going to check this new windshield. Make positive that it's the right one and that it's not cracked. Okay, no cracks. So next step is to get the other one out. At this point, I don't want to do anything that I can't get. It could go with a cracked windshield, but who would want to see that? I mean, that'd be terrible. So, but I'd rather have a cracked windshield than no windshield. It's actually got a Dodge Pentastar right in the middle of the glass. That's kind of an odd place to put it. Normally it's over in one corner.
It's not showing up.
That's, can't see it. All right, so let's get the chrome off of this one and see if we can cut it out, and we've got a new tape kit to put it in. Let's get this done tonight. I've already removed that piece and the lower piece. Fortunately, I think that was a screw. Let me get that screw out of the hinge. Fortunately, it's coming off really easy. They did make this lower piece of chrome really easy to get off, which is just 3 screws, and then each corner piece has a screw. So just take those screws out. And this is the scary part, especially if you're trying to reuse the glass, because you got to reach up in there. If you catch this hook on the glass and not the hook or the clip, you'll send a crack right through the glass. So what I do is I started that side popped off so easy I wasn't even going to show this, but somebody might need to see it. So you just come through and you find the hook or the clip, pull it back just a little bit and let it pop that off, and it's easy as that. These clips, as you can see, let me do one from over there. You just pull it back with that hook tool. See how it's releasing? So the piece of chrome will pop down in here, and to get it out, just hook it, pull it back, and pop that chrome off. Chrome's got a little flange on the back side that'll catch those hooks. So now it's a matter of cutting the glass out, which isn't too big a deal typically. I like to do it with piano wire or guitar string, and I don't know that I have any, so I'm going to use a tool if I can find it, and I gotta find it. But this toolbox is one that I don't use very often, so I gotta dig a little bit here. This is fairly sharp, and you stick it in there and pull, because it takes about everything you have to pull this thing through. So I'll give you a little demonstration here. I'm sorry if this is elementary stuff, but I know some of you are really good. You just want to see fabrication, but unfortunately I don't fabricate every single day. I'll give you as much good fabrication as I can. That's taking everything I've got. That's got a lot of heavy glue in there. Yeah, you can hear the glass in it is already busted right there. I think that's where the crack started. But it's hard to cut a window out, especially with this tool, and put it back in. Fortunately, we don't care. That window's got a problem right there, besides what I'm doing to it. They've got, evidently it's had a leak right there, and they've put a lot of putty in. What you don't want to do is slide and slice your hand open on that. Anytime you're messing with glass, it's scary. I probably should have some gloves on. Let me do that real quick.
But it doesn't mean you ain't been on my mind. Will you meet me in the middle? Will you meet me in the air? Will you love me just a little, just enough to show you care? Will I try to fake it? I don't mind saying I just can't make it.
And we're back. This is what I'm talking about. This is the way you're supposed to put a window in, like this. Just soft, sticky rubber. 3/8 of an inch supposed to be. It's kind of looks shrunk down and squeezed down. But I'm going to start at the bottom and roll this tape on.
Will I keep on thinking about you, sister, golden hair surprise? And I just can't live without you. Can't you see it in my eyes? Now I've been one for correspondence, and I've been too hard to find. when I just can't make it.
Buttoning it up. Everything underneath is done. I just greased the ball joints. In fact, let me walk over here and get this cap. Just went underneath and checked every bolt. We bled the brakes. We've got the new master cylinder on. I just did a quick once over of all the bolts to make sure it's in good shape. Now I'm going to put all the wheels back on and let it down. We've got to put a new distributor in it. I don't think you guys have been told about the distributor, but yesterday we went to start it. It's been sitting since, not running since we pulled it apart last week and put the suspensions in. It wouldn't start. You know, it's one of those deals that, of course, right here at the, it's not the 11th hour, but it's the 9th hour. I've only got tomorrow and maybe some of Thursday if I have to have it, but the wrap people need it as soon as possible. So it's getting, the deadline's approaching, and the car wouldn't start. It was running when we put it on here, kind of like the old saying goes, it was running when I parked it. So there's some truth to that. When you guys read that next time, take it serious. But I got a little bit panicky. We had, what, 45 minutes or something, or less? I think it was 45 minutes.
45 minutes, yeah.
Before she couldn't overnight packages from Summit ATEC. So I jump in the thing trying to figure out what's wrong, and I didn't build it, I didn't wire it, I don't know what's going on. But I realized it's just an MSD, simple. It's got a 6AL box and a Pro Billet distributor, and I started messing with it, and it turns out the distributor failed. How does a Pro Billet distributor fail? It's really dumb. It's just got a magnetic pickup in it. That's all there is. But I plugged in one from my stuff, a Chevrolet, just plugged it in, put a spark plug in the coil wire, turn it just every time I turn it, this spark plug, you could arc weld with it. Plug it back into the one in the car, not a spark, not at all. So I ohmed the two distributors out, and the good one was a dead short, zero, just dead short, which is because it's just a coil, literally, and it's just a magnetic inductive pickup. And the one that's in the car ohmed, I don't remember what the ohms were, but it had obviously not a dead short. It was open circuit with some resistance to it. So the distributor just failed in the thing while it was in here. I guess it was probably going out because when Nick took it off of the transporter and put it in Alex's shop while we were gone, it died as he'd started and it died, and he started and it died. But you know, Alex actually drove it around the block, gave Mika a ride, and it was running okay. But it failed, and failed good. So I'm glad it happened before we get it down to F1 and in front of, I guess, multi-billionaire people. Sounds like they got all the money in the world. So we don't want to look dumb down there. So it failed at the right place. So I'm going to put the distributor in it, get it running again. We put the new windshield in last night. I think the next thing is I'm going to pull the front seats out. I've got to put a quarter window over there because it's really hard to see through. I'll do that while the seats are out, and then we're going to throw carpet in it. And I believe we're down to just test fitting steering wheels and seats to make sure they all bolt right in and don't have to be worked on. Hopefully Thursday morning or maybe even late tomorrow we can put it in a trailer and take it to the wrap people. So we did get, let me tighten this wheel up real quick. We did get, had to go through a master cylinder debacle. Debbie was able to overnight the master cylinder, and it wasn't, hold on just a second. the master cylinder that we ordered, I think you guys were included in on this, wasn't right. It's just a standard Willwood master cylinder, which works on almost everything, but Dodge, in their infinite wisdom, has 4 bolts that holds it to the brake booster. So after I started looking at it, I realized that the master cylinder we had wouldn't work. So Debbie gets to looking real quick yesterday in our 45 minutes before they shut down overnight orders. And none of it was really available. Almost every master cylinder wasn't. But it's kind of sealed, which is kind of what we wanted anyway. It has a proportioning valve, but just has the old stock proportioning combination valve. And I think that combination valve, when it's 50 whatever years old, when we tried to bleed the brakes after it, all 4 wheels being off and different brakes put on, I think that valve shuttled and it got stuck, and I didn't want to deal with it. So instead of taking that one apart and fixing it, we really needed the Willwood master cylinder, and she was able to get this kit with a proportioning valve, an adjustable proportioning valve, but it doesn't say anywhere if it's made for power brakes or not. I could tell it's not because it had a push rod with a clevis on it, so it would go on the pedal, but they didn't say that it wouldn't work on a power brake. So we ordered it desperately. It gets here today. I can tell that it had been out of the box. Somebody had taken it out, taken the push rod out of it. This was laying in the box, and the washer that goes in on top of the piston was out of it. Some of the bags were open. So I thought, boy, we're screwed now. We're going to be up a creek. But I was able to take the piston apart, look it over. The piston wasn't right. It just had a dimple in it for this round push rod here. And we needed, the stock master cylinder in that booster needed about an inch hole drilled in it. When I took the piston out, it was nice and thick, so I could tell that I could drill the hole in it. I put it in the lathe and bored the hole, adjusted everything. There's the push rod on the end of the booster is adjustable, so I made it just right for the hole that I drilled and put it all together. And the brake lines actually worked out pretty good. I had to replace one fitting on a rear brake line to make it right for this proportioning valve and put an extension on it about that long. So we got that done, got the brakes bled. It's time now to put the new distributor in and get the thing running again. And we're gonna move it back and take care of that. But it's got that expensive little, kind of ugly, honestly. Looks like a coffin for a short little person. It's not as nice looking as the regular Willwood, but it is what it is. It fits this thing. It's got that funky 4-bolt pattern and big reservoir. It's fat and wide and short, but it's made for this car, and it works now since I adapted it to the brake booster. So I think we're out of the woods as far as mechanical goes. As soon as I have it running, I know that we're out of the woods. Windshield's in, so some of the hard stuff's done. Now we're down to just goofing around with little simple stuff. So we'll come back when we're doing carpet and interior and seats and stuff like that. You guys can see what seats you like. I know which ones I like, but once we put them in the car, we might have a different opinion, but you can let me know which ones you think it should be. Same with the wheels. You haven't seen the other set of wheels yet. These are awesome, just plain old gray 5-spokes. The other ones are a little bit more modern and kind of funky Chinesium looking, but honestly they actually look pretty good on the car. But you can let us know in the comments which ones you like, the 5-spokes, the Chinesium, the 2 different sets of seats, and the 2 different steering wheels. Thanks.